Hi, I'm HP, and today I'm going to talk about more or less. This is an exercise related to the theory of modes in major and minor. Um, of course, to follow this lesson here, you need to went through the theory of the major minor modes a little bit have understood what was going on, and now we're doing exercises for further comprehension that you really can start work with modes. Now, the first thing to know is the difference between earlier soloing and soloing on modes is before you were playing one scale of an entire piece. Like, I don't know, any kind of rock tune. That you played like E minor pentatonics over the entire piece. This is not wrong in general, of course, not because it worked, and in many cases it's a very good choice. But if you want to have more color into your soloing or more things to go, then you start working with modes. And this thing is a little bit different because when you work with modes, you select a mode for each chord in a chord progression of a piece. In some cases, the difference between playing modes or the scale is not very big, and you just ask yourself, so where is the exact difference? Because it looks nearly the same. As an example, when we play, I don't know, Knocking on Heaven's Door. So the tune is generally in G because we have the chords G, D, C, and A minor. So you can play G major scale over the entire piece. You can play G major pentatonic over the entire piece, or, and now it comes, you can play a mode on each chord. And this is what we are trying to find out today, how we're doing this and how it really works. So, once you want to start with all that stuff, of course you need to went through the two tutorials, the major modes and the minor modes. If you have understood the major modes, the minor modes are pretty easy to understand because it's very much similarity between them. And the next step now will be to do some exercise or some examples to understand more how you work with the modes. So let's start. First of all, when you have a song and you want to think about playing modes, today we're making very easy. I mean, in jazz, of course, there you really go for modes, but also in pop and rock music, even on easier tunes, you can play on modes, as we're going to see later on the Knocking on Heaven's Door example. So the first step when you start to play modes is you need to analyze the piece. So let's take Knocking on Heaven's Door. We have the chords G, D, C, first part of progression. Second part of the chord progression is G, D, A minor. So the first step we need to find out is the tune in major or in minor. That's pretty easy because we can hear it more or less. Mostly the first chord, if the first chord is in major, or the last, if the first and the last chord are the same, more or less that's the basic key we are in. The key, and if it's major minor. So the first chord is G and the last chord is also G major, so the key is G major. First we try to find out the G major scale. So now, second step, we need to analyze the progression of the chords, how we do that. And this method works like on 80% of all tunes because not all chords are typically in the normal progression or in the normal thing, but these are exceptions and we can go not so far at this point, so we keep it easy. So now we start. Now we have the G major scale. We play on one string to make it more visual. So That's the G major scale. Now we count 1, 2, the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here back on 1. Now first chord is G, so this is the 1 in the progression. Now the second chord is D, so we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 5th step, and now we because you know it by heart now, on the 5th step we play Mixolydian, so we play, it's D Mixolydian. The second chord is C major, so we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we have C major chord, which is part of the diatonic chord progression major. So this is, the 4th is Lydian. Then it starts again G, D, and then goes to A minor. Good. So now we count 1, 2. So here's the A. And on the second step, or second thing, we have a minor chord, so this is the second one, and there we play Dorian. So now we have made a full analysis. Now a question might be, what happens if, like as an example, the A would not be a minor, it would be a major chord. So it would be like... Sounds a little bit strange, but sometimes it happens. Then in such case, if it's on the step, you play the same mode, but then you adapt the notes which have changed. In this case, A minor to A major is one note has changed. So in the scale is the Dorian. Then you count till the triad comes, the note is changed, and then just change the note. And then this leads to another mode, but then of course you play that mode. Now if you want to play to the on modes now, so when G comes, you play any kind of lick in Ionian, I don't know what, like when it comes to D, you play D Mixolydian, wherever you can play it. Comes to C, play C Lydian, and back to G. And the second part, when it comes to A minor, play A Dorian. I went now through over the fretboard, but you can play any position you are familiar with. The more you're doing this, the more you can expand your visual orientation on the fretboard. But of course, in the first moments, you have to play there where you can. So if you know the G major scale, only one position, of course, then you stay there, and then you play like G to D. Like you start here on the 5th note in this position, to C, you start on the 4th note, and back to G. Or you can start on any kind of chord note. So the first note will be the root note, or you start on the triad on the 5th. I mean, that's up to you. Most of the players, like 99.9%, start on the root when it starts, so it's okay when you start on the root. Yeah, and this is basically the way it works. First, find out if it's major or minor, then analyze the piece, find out which steps are going on in the progression and which mode is related, and then you play on each chord as one solo, like on Knockins on Nevin's Door. It's pretty easy because you have a lot of time. Yeah, but when you want to make combination with what you play before, I mean, normally you play kind of a major pentatonic solo. If you were on pentatonics before, you can still play normal stuff like you did before. And then suddenly, like you switch on one chord, like on the A minor, when you come today as an example. Then you play the story. I must apologize a little bit for my mistakes here. I'm still a little bit injured with my finger. I was out of order for like 5 weeks now. I couldn't play. Slowly I can play a little bit again, but so I must apologize that I cannot really. I think it's my second day of my injury where I started to play a little bit, so I apologize. Good. Now let's take an example in minor, or another example where we see it's in minor. We have a progression like A minor to D minor to F to E major, A minor, D minor, F. Wait, let's make it a little bit different as that you really get the full learning thing. First time we make at the end the phrase with E minor and the second with E major. So the whole tune is A minor, D minor, F, now E minor, A minor, D minor, F, E major. So now we go through the steps again. First, find out if it's major or minor. I already told you, but if you didn't know by now, you can check the first and the last chord, like in most of the cases, the same, and this indicates the key and if it's major or minor. In this case it was A minor, so now we know it's A minor. So now again the steps. You can play overall A minor pentatonics or A minor scale, which is A Aeolian. This is the pentatonics. A minor, A minor scale. You can play this scale overall, or now we make an analysis and find out what really happens. So let's do this. First, now again for the good optical orientation, we play the A minor scale on one string. So this is this here. These are the notes. So we start with A minor. Of course, the first step, as we know from the theory, it's Aeolian. Then comes D minor. Now we count 1, 2, 3, 4 is the fourth step. Now from the theory you know by heart, fourth step is Dorian mode. So here play D Dorian. I don't really go to the modes in detail now because you should know this stuff by now. Next chord was F. Now we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the sixth step, and as we know by heart, it's Lydian. F Lydian. And with E minor is the fifth. And as you know from the minors, on the fifth you can then have either minor or a major chord. In this case we have a minor, so here we play E Phrygian. Second time the same again. First A Aeolian, D minor, Dorian, F Lydian, and now we have an E major, and this is now the dominant, so fifth. And in this case, as you know from the theory, you play Phrygian natural 3. What does that mean? Once again, we have the Phrygian scale. You find that either if you stay in position, so here's the E, here's Phrygian. You play from E to E, but you should know the Phrygian scale now by heart, that you can play it on any position you like. I'm doing it here but as a better comprehension, I stay here now, and now switch from Phrygian to Phrygian natural 3. 1, 2, 3. The third you move up half step, and this makes you Phrygian natural 3. Yeah, that's actually the thing what happens. Or if you have a Phrygian here, and now same thing, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, here you move it up 1. And that's it. And now you play on the chords A minor, Aeolian, to D minor, D Dorian, F Lydian, and E minor, E Phrygian. I really move now around the fretboard, just have the root note on the lowest E string, but of course you can stay in position or do whatever you want. I just let you see that. Once again, A minor, Aeolian, D minor, now I stay here, D Dorian, F Lydian, and E major, Phrygian natural 3. And this is the way it really works. And also here you can mix up normal pentatonic playing with this method, or you play just parts of the tune, you play pentatonics, and suddenly on one chord you switch into modes, which makes the whole thing more interesting. Yeah, that's actually the way you work with the modes. But to tell you, this works like on 80% of the cases you come through with this, but there are a lot of exceptions which I didn't talk about till now. And they really, these exceptions, they can make you crazy. Like Nirvana is a good example. I think these guys had no clue what they were playing, and people needed later on to analyze what they did. And because from the theoretical concept, it's a little bit weird, but it works. So if you find something which doesn't fit in this normal, in this basic stuff which I explained to you, that's okay, because there are a lot of exceptions out there. And the main rule on exceptions is keep the main thing going on and change what's changed, as I explained, like on the example before. And that's how it works. So now spend a week. You can take any song, analyze it, find out which mode is used, and then try to switch from chord to chord. So it's like island hopping. I call it island hop. You hop from one stone to the other, and this is actually the way it works with modes. And at the beginning, it's very much a brain, but the more you're doing it, it just goes fluently, and then you really can play a lot of interesting stuff and don't play pentatonics all the time in position 1, which is totally boring after a certain time, of course. But and the cool thing is once you can play modes, then when you play pentatonic stuff, you really want to work out this pentatonic sound. Then it comes like, whoa, that was cool. And if you only can play pentatonics, it's totally boring. So that's the thing. Then keep it going on, and we see us soon.